Yeah, all right. So there is no situation here in which Dr. Michel Dow is innocent. All right. So failure to obtain informed consent. The legal and ethical standards for informed consent requires that a patient fully understands the nature, risks, and effects of a prescribed drug or procedure. If Dr. Dow failed to disclose that birth control pills can act as abortifacients by preventing implantation after conception, she and to explain that conception is the when the sperm meets the egg and not implantation, she has violated a medical ethics, regulatory law, and potential civil or criminal statutes regarding medical fraud or malpractice. Certainly guilt here. So negligence or intentional misrepresentation. If Dr. Doe is unaware of the abortifacient nature of these drugs, then she is guilty of gross negligence, a failure to meet the basic standard of medical care, the care that is owed, right? The care that is certainly owed to the patient, expected of a physician. If she is aware but still prescribes them without full disclosure, this constitutes willful deception, making her liable for fraud, misrepresentation, and wrongful death under potential legal theories. So for wrongful death, the death of who? Well, of course, that's the small boy or the small girl that has been conceived, and the pregnancy is fully viable, and the baby will die at the later and natural and very healthy stage of implantation. So redefining conception, material misrepresentation. So the legal and medical definitions of conception have been manipulated for political and financial purposes by adopting and perpetuating the false definition that conception occurs at implantation. Dr. Dow is engaging in immaterial misrepresentation that directly affects patient decision making. Material misrepresentation is grounds for civil liability and, in some cases, criminal fraud. Um, she's much more. I mean, if the lawmakers hadn't put their foot in the door, she would certainly be guilty of murder and quite possibly even crimes against humanity and even up to genocide. I mean, the genocide is really what's going on here. But since we have the current country, the state of the law that is in Canada, why? Because obviously these pharmaceutical giants have bribed the lawmakers and we have a country that accepts the death of our next generation and all this stuff for what? Because of lifestyle choices. Establishing wrongful death liability. If an individual can establish that they would not have taken birth control had they been fully informed of its potential to prevent an already conceived human being, a small boy or small girl, from implanting and surviving, a wrongful death claim becomes viable, just like the pregnancy was viable. So that's the thing. The baby was conceived, and that's the thing too. These people that do not want abortions have taken birth control pills because they believe that it will prevent suppress ovulation, it will prevent the conception, but it did not. Right, the baby was healthy and did like every other baby will do, and attempt to implant in the womb there of his or her mother. But Dr. Dow here, prescribed these abortifacients, and the baby died. And so there is a wrongful death here. So Dr. Dow's potential liability extends to every prescription written without full disclosure, and could be exponentially compounded in a class action lawsuit. No plausible innocence in statistical probability. Given the number of prescriptions written over the course of her career, the statistical probability that not a single embryonic life was lost due to implantation failure is effectively, it's so far, close to zero that it's, basically zero. There is no statistical probability that this could have been, not that she is innocent, right? If deaths occurred, and they did, and Dr. Dow facilitated them knowingly or through reckless disregard, she is culpable under any legal framework addressing wrongful death, negligence, and or medical malpractice. Potential criminal liability, depending on the legal interpretation of embryonic death and the duty of care expected from physicians, criminal charges could be considered under theories of criminal negligence, reckless endangerment, or even homicide, should future laws or judicial precedent allow for such prosecution. civil liability and the class action framework. So if class action is pursued, claimants would not need to be pro-life to have a viable claim. You can still be pro-abortion. It doesn't matter what your frame of mind is. You can still be, you can still support abortion and have a claim, and you could be awarded damages. Some would suggest around the $5 million mark. The issue of whether they were denied informed consent and whether the doctor's action led to an outcome they were not made fully aware of, which is the death of the baby. Under such a legal framework, damages could be substantial, and the discovery process could expose broader systemic fraud. That's really what I'm looking forward is the discovery. I would be very, very thrilled to spend quite a lot of this is going to be a lot of information that we will be given in the discovery phase of the civil trial. So comparative legal precedent, courts have ruled against pharmaceutical companies and medical practitioners for misrepresentation of drug effects, even in cases where the drug's approval was backed by regulatory bodies. Dr. Dale's actions could be subject to similar liability if it can be demonstrated that she knew or should have known about the abortifacient effects of the drugs she prescribed. So the financial and legal risks for Dr. Dam. Should legal action be taken, her career, assets, and medical license could all be in jeopardy. Oh man, strip this girl's license. She's a very, very dangerous person. She is in a uniquely vulnerable position as a direct prescriber of these drugs, while the pharmaceutical industry and lawmakers who enable these policies remain insulated and no legal or ethical defense against her culpability, whether through negligence, misrepresentation, or willful participation. Dr. Dow cannot claim innocence, either she knowingly deceived patients, which is fraud, or failed to understand the drug she was prescribing, which is gross negligence. So no version of these facts absolve her of liability. So which one is it? Is it the fact that you knew that it would kill the baby, or that you were so negligent that you didn't even know what you were prescribing? Either way, which one is it? And they're both, it really does highlight the fact that there's no situation in which Dr. Michel Dow cannot be found innocent. There's no acquittal here. That's really what's important to remember here. So I know the legal framework and all this stuff. So now we got a situation where the system will protect these abortionists and all that stuff, and that does pose a challenge, which is great for her. She can avoid, some liability, because let's say, for example, the law was clear, don't kill, especially not a baby, or don't kill anybody. But we have the big pharma, bribing, essentially bribing politicians to be able to to have these abortifacients, and to be able to basically kill an innocent child in the womb of the mother, not even knowing that it happens because of these birth control pills. Very sad.